Well, it's a good afternoon to Tim Andrews. Wonderful to welcome you down to the or into the Brummy Den. Two Brummies coming into the Downtown Business Den. Tim, it's like me and you sitting in a pub, I think, mate, with a glass of wine in front of us, just catching up.
Well, where is the wine? Should we pass it over?
Well, that's my glass of clear wine.
Tim, I've had too much the weekend, so I'm detoxing this week.
Slightly jaded. I think there's a few things I want to talk about, Tim, from my perspective. You know, and we're talking about downtown. This is going out to an audience. It's going to go out to an open audience, so whether you're downtown members or not, or anything like that, it's just two people who've probably got the same mindset. We both care passionately about Birmingham, about the region, about charities, and about doing the right things, specifically for the right reasons. I want to talk a little bit about you, and I'll invite you in a minute to come in, and I want to talk about your business. Obviously, it would be remiss of me not to talk about the charitable sort of aspects and things like that. But there are, believe it or not, Tim, there might be some people in Birmingham who don't know who you are. There've got to be some somewhere, maybe a handful of them. So if we could take the opportunity to just welcome you to the Den, and if you could introduce yourself as a starting point, that would be great.
Yeah, no, great. Well, I'm very honoured to be asked to come in to speak. I was asked to be a member actually of Downtown just when you first launched in Birmingham, and I've been with you guys ever since. So I think it's cracking what you guys are doing, bringing businesses together right across Birmingham, not just from one sector but from many sectors. So I think that's really quite good what you guys are doing. There are lots of organisations like yourselves out there that do what you do, but I think you do it slightly different, and and I think it's quite honourable what you're doing. So yeah, so me, I am chairman of a company called Hollywood Monster. It's a company that me and my father set up in 1991. It's changed its name along the way just once when we merged two businesses together. Hollywood Signs is a business that I started, and the name on the tin says what it does. Signage graphics business, supplying signage to all sectors, but mainly the property industry to begin with. Last recession in around 2008, one of the learnings from it was we had to diversify into other sectors because it was largely a property sort of hit recession and financial sort of recession. And one of the learnings was that we need to diversify into other sectors, and one of the sectors that we moved into was exhibitions. And obviously the exhibitions and the events, and one of the learnings from this recession is we need to move out of that sector as well to a degree. It served us very well, both property and exhibitions. Unfortunately, in recessions, you need to try and pivot your business to feed off what's still left. And so we're going through that at the moment. Back in March the 15th, I think it was, we closed the doors. We had no work. Very, very worrying times for us. £10 million turnover business went down to zero. Thankfully, the week later, the Chancellor announced the furlough scheme. So we were able to put all our 70 employees onto the furlough scheme. And 6 weeks on from that, we're nearly back, not in terms of people, but we're back quite strongly in terms of turnover, because we're doing all the social media stickers that you see everywhere across the retail sectors. We've done probably nearly every high street shop actually brand, which has been amazing. When I'm talking every high street shop, there are exceptions, of course. But we've been really, really fortunate to do all these different brands where I would never have dreamt of doing, to be quite honest with you. So it's been a really roller coaster ride for me the last 3 months, where I thought I was going to lose everything, and I generally really felt that, to now actually thinking, well, our business has got a really, really strong future. And obviously we haven't got all the pre-COVID work back yet, but we really have done well. So thankfully, and dare I say it, excuse the pun, but the virus killed my business. And actually, it's also been a saviour as well in many respects, because of this new market that's emerged. And we've taken it with both hands actually. So I'm now a very happy chappy. So we as a business, we do now right across many sectors. Retail is obviously a larger sector as well that's emerging. So going forward, I think we'll be a lot stronger as a result because we've spread ourselves over many sectors. So yeah, all good.
I noticed that you've stepped back in as interim managing director as well. Yeah. So that's definite hands-on approach from you as well. So you rolled your sleeves up and really got back onto the shop floor, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, there's. Simply the reason why it's not the previous managing director who still is our sales director. He's so important to the business. But unfortunately, what I think I did do is give him too much to do. So I moved up to chair to take over my dad when my dad sadly passed away. But I think I don't think he was just too big a job for him. And just to give you an example, September last year we turned over £1 million, and we made, I think it's £3,500. So pretty much we broke even. And to do that sort of level of business in 1 month tells you there's something wrong.
Yes, yeah, fundamentals.
And it's it's not one person's fault. It's actually probably my fault for stepping away too soon. And so I've stepped back in purely just on an interim level just to help. I think we're getting back to that point where I can perhaps step away again, but not step so far away this time.
Okay, and
so
then
learning for me really.
Some of your other passions in your life, and then we will come back to Hollywood Monster, but some of your other passions in your life is clearly, you're probably more known for LoveBrum and your charitable contributions to the city and the region than probably your work in life. Yeah. People think that you're full-time LoveBrum for the amount of activity and the amount of things that's happened historically and things like that. And I think there's somebody called PJ. Come across him a couple of times. I think he did something with LoveBrum as well, didn't he? At some point.
Yeah, it was an idea down the pub, the old Contemplables of all pubs. We just felt our passions are very similar. We're on the same page, and it wasn't just about starting a charity actually, because we wanted to start a charity for a couple of years prior to when we actually started LoveBrum. But it needed to be something that we're really quite passionate about. And the reason for LoveBrum, the real thinking behind LoveBrum is it's not just a charity. It's, we try and promote the city. We try and get rid of that many, many years of history of it being a dowdy, dirty, ugly city, and I'm talking not the people, because of course me and you've changed that, Paul. But I'm talking about the buildings, the sort of the image, and actually the reality is very different. I think what's really good about Birmingham is its people. It's, we're really passionate people. We're a very diverse city, and we all get on very well, I think, as a city, and there obviously are exceptions. But I think the best way of promoting the city is through its people. And there are so many organisations out there that just don't get the look in. These small organisations that quite often are volunteer led, and just a small amount of money makes a huge difference. And against the big charities who are also very good, but always tend to get the support because they've got full-time fundraising managers and whatnot. These small charities, they don't, and actually they haven't got the contacts either. So actually having somebody like LoveBrum that gives them a little bit of a platform, I think works well. The charity, we've got so many big plans for LoveBrum. We want it to be much bigger than it is, but we always want it to be the charity for the small charity. Of course, it's down to money. COVID has come at a time where, that really does stop the growth, if you like, from a corporate support point of view, because a lot of business can't afford to put money into charity. They've got to look after their own coffers first. So hopefully it doesn't slow us down too much, the growth. But I think, the whole idea and the whole premise behind LoveBrum is to promote the small charity, the volunteer-led charities, and also make people proud of Birmingham again. By just demonstrating what does go on in this city, regardless of what your personal opinion is of Birmingham. And I happen to think I love walking around the Colmore Row area, just looking up in the air rather than down, because I think it's an amazing city. The buildings, the architecture is just stunning. But you know, we need to remind people that actually we've got some really cool people living here, rather than all the press always focusing on the negatives. You know, we've got some awesome stuff going on. And
I think for me, the profile of LoveBrum, what it was done and everything else like that is particularly impressive. The idea of looking after the smaller charities and but very specific projects is excellent. Quite often we'll put money into a larger charity and it kind of just disappears, across the charity. Where we know that it does okay, but actually the projects, the weekly projects, the updates from LoveBrum is pretty good. Obviously, I've been a member for a while.
Yeah.
And now you've got full-time employees and office full-time employees, and I think that's the stage where things really take a turn for the best, and looking to collaborate on a few projects with LoveBrum, so that'll be good. But what's the future for LoveBrum then? Where are you going to take it, and what are you going to do?
This week we've just taken on another person to help in the fundraising side of it. So without us raising many thousands of pounds, we can't give many thousands of pounds away. So the strategy behind that is to get somebody on board to really focus on the fundraising. And as you say, we're doing one of the projects with yourself, which I think would be awesome. But hoping it to be one of many projects. We're even talking about doing virtual bike rides. When I say virtual, not big mass gathering bike rides, but where individually you can go out and do a bike ride, or individually go out and do a run. But in terms of the future of LoveBrum, we want LoveBrum to be the sort of the mouth for the people of Birmingham. We want LoveBrum to be seen as, if you've got an issue with the city, don't go to all the other organisations like the City Council, for instance. LoveBrum could try and help, put the city right and be a bit of a voice for the people. That's what I'd like to see in 10 years' time. But we've got to build that respect first, and that's and that trust, if you like. We're nowhere near there yet. But I think that from a blue sky thinking, I think that's how I'd like to see LoveBrum. And whether that be coffee shops, whether that be charity shops across the city, whether that be people wearing caps like they do in New York, love New York City, but I'd like people to be proud of what LoveBrum means for the city. We're nowhere near there yet, but that's the vision.
And I just picking up on your point about when people come to Birmingham and they say, what do I look at? And I say, look up. Most Brummies look up anyway, but if you look at the architecture in the buildings in Birmingham, and a majority of people don't realise, just walk around the city, look up, look at the cornices, look at the the statues, look at everything else like that and things like that. Yeah,
you're dead right. I think really the lockdown for me was the time when I started to look up, because it's always so very busy and very crowded. You got to look down because you walk into somebody. But during the lockdown, my hour fitness was literally a walk or a jog around that area. Obviously didn't run too long, but I did do every day. I did go for a walk, and and I'm temporarily living in the city centre, and I have to say it's an amazing place. And the fact that it was so quiet as well, you could hear a pin drop, you could hear the birds singing, and these sort of things you just don't see. And certainly the buildings, it was just, when you haven't got the other distractions going on in the city, it makes you realise how good it is.
I came into the city after about 6-7 weeks of lockdown. I hadn't been in, and I came into the city just to give blood. So I parked behind the rep and walked up into New Street, and there wasn't a person in anywhere. No litter, no people or anything like that, and the air was definitely cleaner. And actually, the stats came out about the cleaner air and things like that. And I'm like, we definitely need to do something with this. Both of us drive cars with big engines and things like that, but we do need to look at the environment, and we need to look at that. And
I'm totally in agreement with it. When I first heard that they were going to shut the city centre off for cars, okay, no, you can't do that. But actually, there are ways to survive without having the car in the city centre. And I think it'd be quite interesting to see what these scooters, whether that's going to really take off, electric scooters in the city.
I think we've just got to open up our mind. It will happen and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'd say the other thing, while we're talking about Birmingham, is that I was sitting on 200 degrees Colmore Row, which for me at the minute is the epicentre of the city. But the axis of the city will probably move towards, Millennium Point sort of side of the city with HS2 and things like that. It'll move, it'll spread across that way along Curzon Street. But I'm sitting in 200 degrees and I'm looking out the window thinking about things, and you're seeing people walking down the road just saying good morning to each other, good afternoon and things like that. People just talking to each other and just, nodding, people that are existing. You go to London, everybody's got their head down, nobody speaks to you or anything like that. Even if you ask a direction in London, you do well to get a response.
Yeah.
Whereas
I hope COVID is not going to change that, because you're right, exactly right, pre-lockdown. But have you noticed everybody's different since though? Everyone's got their masks on. Everyone's literally just didn't give you the eye contact. And I hope that we're doing a campaign. Actually, LoveBrum's getting involved in a campaign. I don't know if you've seen around the city. It's something that I supported personally. Was the Smile campaign. There's banners everywhere. And they're doing something similar, but it's be friendly and be kind. And I think the campaign is just coming at the right time. I think so. You'll see some banners around, to be kind to your neighbour, basically. And I think this COVID has put people back into their shells a little, I think.
It has.
And hopefully that's only a short-term thing.
I think I remember being a kid and everybody seemed to be walking along the road whistling, and the postman would be saying good morning to everybody and all that sort of thing. We've kind of lost that. I can't remember last time I heard anybody whistling on the road or anything like that.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But I do remember going into pubs as with my dad, kind of thing, when he'd sneaked off to have a beer. I'd be sitting there with some crisps and a pop, kind of thing. But everybody would say hello to everybody, and that kind of thing. And that, to smile and just to open up, be friendly, I think is definitely USP for Birmingham. So I'm going to support you on that one. I think charities are struggling now, Tim. They're all struggling in one way or another. And we talked not too long ago about collaboration of charities working together, looking at resources and things like that. I'd welcome your views just around your thoughts around that.
I think obviously what LoveBrum is all about is collaboration. But a lot of charities, they are very, 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 and I've worked in some, they're very dead against working with other charities. They're almost as if they're fighting after the same pound. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether that's because, there is a sort of a competition factor there, or whether it's because they don't want their brand diluted or confused, but it is a very, they are fighting after this, and that pound gets less and less, doesn't it, I guess. But I think also this period of time has been, whilst it's been very difficult for charities, I actually also think it's really showed, I think the community has really demonstrated that actually they are still willing to support charity. I think the key is making sure that the charity becomes appealing to the donor. And I think, you can't rest on your laurels. You can't just, every business that keeps after reinventing themselves, don't they? And maybe charities need to do the same. There is definitely if you think over the years, and when I use the word fashionable, that could be offensive to some people, but certain charities have become fashionable. And what I mean by that is that, like for instance, the Help for Heroes, just as an example, everybody started supporting them, didn't they? And there's been lots of those sort of shifts of interest, perhaps is a better word, but shifts of interest towards these charities. And it's like LoveBrum, whenever we have a children's poorly children, or we have an animal one, we get the most support, which actually, if you've got a dog or a cat, then you think you want to support the animal charities. But if you don't like animals, then you think, why the hell are they being supported? And I just think that charities just need to perhaps adapt a little bit. And we always find, just from LoveBrum's point of view, you know, there's certain things that are really supported well and certain things that aren't. That's because we're just not engaged, or we've not come up with something that's interesting.
And I
So I
think
think that's the bigger issue. I think more so than charity. It's easy to say charities are struggling. They've just got to adapt, haven't they? And they've got to appeal to the audience that's there at the time, and in a way that you know. But I think the community has demonstrated that there's still a hunger to support charities, so they shouldn't be struggling. That's what I'm trying to say, I think.
And what was interesting is, I imagine me and you both sit at the same time rattling our brains of what's new, what's going to work, and we do. You know, you put PJ on a hamster wheel for a day. That does particularly well, and you know, I'd encourage you to do that more often. You know, that kind of thing. Maybe we can get him on Grand Central or something like that. You know, that kind of thing. Publicly next for a while, and maybe we can put him in some beans for a fortnight or something like that. That kind of thing.
He's going to be on Channel 4 again, because they're going to rerun the Big Brother, best bits of Big Brother, aren't they?
Oh, are they?
Yeah, so he's going to be back on your TV very soon.
He's notoriety or infamous or whatever. I think, what was interesting, LoveBrum, you came up with a piece of art. So you had pieces of art going around at the same time that we created our art piece.
Yeah, I was going to say that to you. Fair play to what you've done. I think, I mean, obviously I know we spoke about it, and it is actually, I think art. I mean, I've been talking to an artist now for 2 years actually to do a piece for LoveBrum. And it's about to come out, I think, and we're going to do printed copies of it. But it's took this long to sort of get it off the table. But yeah, we had some postcards. Stacey Barnfield approached us and said, "Would you be interested in having this?" He says, "You know, and sell them as postcards." And we thought, what a great idea. And they have done really, really well. Well, we've sold out. You know, we've got to get some more printed. So just as something as simple as that, you know. It's just different. It doesn't raise millions of pounds, but we don't need millions of pounds.
It's a great profile piece as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, totally. So no, it's worked very well. The virtual run as well, the 10K run. We had 102 people, I think it was, that run. We only announced it like the week before. You know, to have 102 people, you know, is actually quite awesome. The fact that it wasn't the organised Birmingham Great 10K run, but it allowed people to go and do it wherever they wanted to do it, rather than having to travel into the city to do it. So that was quite good. Some of my DJ sets, and have you seen them as well?
I listened.
That was quite good fun after 20 odd years not being behind a. I bought some.
I think I've still got a box. I've still got a box full of records in my loft.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
that would have fitted into that. I haven't got a record player. I suddenly thought, we might get some stuff out. And I went, I haven't got a record player. Slight technical issue there, but kind of listening to some of your stuff was quite interesting, reminiscent of some of the clubs in Birmingham. We won't go down that road. I think we're planning to do this fire, ice, and Lego walk, aren't we, at Millennium Point next year? Centre of Birmingham and that kind of thing. So for Acorns, we pulled in just under 50,000, and we put that together fairly quick with 100 people doing the fire walk. I think with the two charities coming together, I'll be amazed if we don't get 300 walkers.
Well, put it into perspective, we've never raised 50 grand. I'm not sure exactly what the most we've ever raised in one event. Probably not far short of it, but we've never raised £50,000. So for us to be part of something that raises anything where near that, you know, that would obviously go down really well. And I think really the point in me saying this is that, you know, if we was to have £50,000, there's so much that we could do with it, and the impact across the city will be quite immense. And one of the things that we are working on at the moment is to actually raise what we do with the money, because in a lot of charities, I think the biggest criticism of charities is you don't know where the money goes. You know where the money goes with LoveBrum, but you don't really know what it does to that organisation that's had the money. So we're going back and interviewing them, and we're going to be doing a load of videos on our impact which I think
so the
is,
legacy.
I know
That's
some of them.
interesting.
Yeah, I know some of the organisation and what it's meant to them. And it's changed their worlds in some of them. I know there's one dance school. The name escapes me, if I'm being honest with you, which is bad and reminiscent of me. But based in Bells Lane, Kings Norton, by Maypole. I don't know if you know it. It's an area that's quite deprived. I grew up just around the corner from there, actually, in Hollywood. And there's a dance school that's basically set up within that area. But of course, most of the parents can't afford to pay for the children to go dancing. So our £2,000 bought them all the outfits. It's bought them dance class lessons for the year, and they performed at the big quiz at the town hall. And I have to say, they were absolutely amazing. There's something very similar to what True Power has done with his organisation. They're obviously on a much smaller scale and a much less, in terms of they're a lot less famous than what True's performing arts group are, but they have the potential to get there, and it is amazing what they've done. Really is amazing. Bellagio Dance, I think they're called, and it just shows what and you've got 30, 40 kids that would never have danced, would never have realised they could dance, would never have had the opportunity to dance if it was not for LoveBrum, or if it not for the people of Birmingham that were donated to LoveBrum. So stuff like that is really quite special. But honestly, we're supporting a charity every week. So there's 30, 40 charities each year that get money once you take out holidays and stuff. There's an awful lot of charities out there that do have that sort of impact with LoveBrum. I think it'd be quite nice for us to profile it and demonstrate it, just so the people of Birmingham can see where the money's going. So that's one of the. To answer to your question, what's the future for LoveBrum? The immediate future is for us to be focusing more on our impact.
Okay.
Which I think will generate more interest then as well, of course.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm at hand. If you need anything like that, we can do that. Our mural in Digbeth went into America, went into India, went into New Zealand.
Honestly, it's
Australia.
It's awesome what you did. It is awesome. I've not seen it in the skin yet, but I've been away for a couple of weeks working down south, so I've not had the opportunity to actually go and see it in the skin. But I will definitely go and see it this week. I've certainly seen all the interest on social media, which has been awesome.
When you do, I guarantee it'll take your breath away. But I'm gonna let you into a secret now of what we're doing for Birmingham City. It's a 50th anniversary of Bob Latchford, Bob Atton, and Trevor Francis coming together, and we're going to be painting a mural at the Blues to celebrate the 50th anniversary. Yeah. So that's going to go up there, and I'm going to take prints from that, and we'll be the three legends will be signing some of the prints, and we'll be selling those off for charity as well. So we'll look to support LoveBrum as well. So let's see what we can do from that one.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, be awesome.
They've got an event on February when they're bringing these three legends back together for the first time in 50 years.
Yeah.
It's a poorly guarded secret, so I don't think we'll let it too much away. But we'll definitely be at that. So we'll have to. We'll make sure we're at the same table having a glass of lemonade together, Tim, if you're all right.
Yeah, no, awesome. Well done. It is good, and art. I think just art in itself is a great way of communicating, isn't it? And and I mean, coming from a business like Hollywood Monster, it is all about art and graphics, and and I've always grown up with a passion for artistry and sign writing and drawing and painting. So I think it's, albeit I would never be able to do what you pulled off there in terms of I've not got the skill sets, and the guys who've done that are obviously very well talented. And
well, the guy who did it for us was Gem 48. He's in the top 3 in the world in Birmingham. Won't leave Birmingham. Been offered jobs and opportunities all around the world. Yeah. Gone away working and just came back and he went, "No, I love my city. I want to stay in my city."
Yeah.
So and he needed some assistance with his profile outside of the the street art world, the graffiti art. So that's kind of what we've done with him, and we've got him a few more gigs. I've got one planned for the Commonwealth Games. So the Commonwealth Games has accepted 12 charities to support and things like that. And we want to go around the city and for each of these charities, paint a mural for each of these charities for the Commonwealth Games and try and raise some money on the back of it. And we've also created Art for Charity because there's so many quality, talented artists in the city, don't get recognised and all of that. So we're going to pay them royalties for their art pieces, and we're going to sell these art pieces through Art for Charity. We're not going to be a charity, but we're going to donate all the monies raised to different charities. So we'll definitely support LoveBrum. We've got a number of other activities and people that are looking for some support. So we're going out there looking for some smaller charities, and we'll do that. But the conduit to LoveBrum is excellent for me. And for
one thing that we possibly could do, because obviously a lot of our clients have hoardings. Maybe something you could do, like a competition across the city for children in schools to do something similar, but rather than doing it on walls, do it on hoardings. And Hollywood Monster would print them for you. We wouldn't charge you. Print them and put them up on the hoardings. And I think that would be really quite cool. So it's sort of an extension to what you're already doing. And that could be another way of not only just raising money, but like you said earlier, it's not just about money, is it? It's about raising awareness as well.
I think it's the collaboration piece, isn't it? And that.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of that. We'll take you up on that, Tim. I do like that. But between us, I'm sure we can raise a profile well enough to get some of the schools.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it'd be great to get some of the school kids involved. And create another chap that's doing the wall art now. Because we do have to keep reinventing, bringing new people through.
Of course we do. So what's the future for our city, Tim? What are we going to do? What do we need to do? We've got the Commonwealth Games coming up. We've got some real key things that's happening. But what else do we need to do in our city? Because we are the first city in the UK, aren't we?
Yeah, I think start believing in the city for one, and I think we are. But there still are the doubters and the knockers out there. The difference is because we are quite self. What's the word? You meet a Scouser, you meet a Mancunian, you meet a Glaswegian. They're all like beating their chests, whereas we're quite soft in our belief in our city.
Yeah. So we don't have a swagger. He's watching.
Yeah. And actually, we don't want a swagger like those people that we've just said. However, I just think we just need a bit of passion about it. And I think somebody like myself could probably get away with saying that, whereas from the council, from political, it probably wouldn't go down very well. But I just think, I think we just need to have a bit of belief. Some of the comments I read on Andy Streets, bless him, he's working so hard for the city, and some of the comments I see on his social media saying, "Oh, what a waste of money this Commonwealth Games is, and what a waste of money you're doing this." And I'm thinking, let the guy get on and do his job. Stop knocking him. He's working really hard for our city. And he's it's almost like politics always gets in the way of the city progressing. Manchester has got where it's got through the Commonwealth Games by supporting the Commonwealth Games, and it's got there through actually supporting the political drive as well, rather than trying to work against it. Yes, we are the first city, but we're not. We've got Manchester right on our tails, and we need to almost copy what they've done as well to a degree. Copy their attitude, their behaviour, because I think
for me, it was all about the celebration of the city. So we go to that many different awards dues and different things like that, and I kind of recognise individuals, we're recognising businesses, and I think that's quite good. But I think we need a recognition of the city. It's about getting 1,000 people together at the ICC and go, do you know how good we are? This is what we're doing. Do you know that this is happening in the city? We're having a World Heritage Site, World Religious Heritage Site coming to Birmingham. Not many people know that. Dalai Lama, the Pope, and everybody's going to come to this when he opens.
Yeah,
and it's been bouncing around for many, many years, decades, round the globe, round Europe, coming here, and then it's been zeroed down into the UK, and then it's going to end up in Birmingham. And that type of thing, well, that's just incredible. We've beaten everybody in the world, probably, you know, for that, and just some of the incredible things that we're doing. And a celebration of the city night where we all just sit down and we do for a night have a swagger, or we're not self-deprecating.
I think LoveBrum, me and PJ have always talked about having like a big celebration night, not a business awards, because there's lots of them around. But it is about celebrating the city. We have talked about doing stuff like that. You know, non-politically biased. You know, but a very inclusive event. You know, where you've got, you know, everybody that represents the city really. And I know we've always thought about it being in some kind of a big, huge marquee. You know, that, you know, and I'm talking to masses of people that you couldn't get into the ICC, something bigger than that. You know, with celebrating all the best acts of the city as well, you know, the comedians, the musicians, the cultural sector. It is something that, you know, we definitely LoveBrum would be interested in partnering with somebody to do something like that, because I think it is definitely needed.
Well, I spoke to
not from a fundraising point of view here. I'm talking about promoting the city. You know, putting us on the map.
I've challenged or spoke to or done the Paul Cadman mindset of, you know, speaking to the Chamber, speaking to the IOD, speaking to Make UK, speaking to Made in the Midlands, speaking to all of these organisations, and they're going, can you get me 100 people to put into a room, and you know, 100 Brummies in a room to do something like that? And they're all going, yeah, pretty good. I mean, maybe we'll have a look at that together. Let's put 500 people into Millennium Point for our fire and ice walk, and then we'll announce that night that we're doing something else.
Yeah. I think it would be, and actually you spoke about all those organisations. You know, it's a coming together of all those organisations, because you don't want to make it just business. You want to get Mrs. Jones from King's Heath there. You want to get, you know, you want to get the sort of the community of the city as well, because they're quite often forgotten in our circles, because we don't meet them very often. You know, we always meet at business events. So I think it's really important to make it very inclusive of, you know, the communities of the city. You know, and of course where LoveBrum can help is with all the organisations that we're dealing with. They are in the community, and they are run by community leaders and, you know, ambassadors for the city in effect. So getting all those people involved in it would be, but of course the price point would need to be right as well. So it's very difficult to make something so glamorous and so hard hitting at a price point that, you know, that the normal man on the street can afford, rather than having businesses pay for it.
My mindset was that the NEC, you know, when they do the Christmas parties, that kind of thing, we just do it the week before or the week after. But we have the same thing, but it's a celebration of the city and that kind of thing, and the money we raise or we don't raise, you know, that kind of thing for that. So I was going to speak to Paul Tandy or the ICC, need to step forward and not charge a room hire or anything like that at some point, but that's one for us to challenge. That's a project for us to do. I think where the city's going, the skyline of the city, the universities, the money that they're spending, you know, the youngest city in Europe, and the startups, the entrepreneurs and things like that we've got. 9 incubator hubs, you know, entrepreneurial hubs and things like that.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Pretty impressive, and I think that it's up to us to guard that and to manage that and to make sure that we keep hold of that.
But at the same time, you know, we've got a massive homeless problem in the city. Every traffic light is, you know, is surrounded by people that are, you know, who are sort of asking out of desperation for money, regardless of where your viewpoint is on that. You know, that people see that, they don't remember the skyline going out the city. They remember the guy that made them or the lady that made them feel uncomfortable at the traffic lights for not giving money to them. And you know, we've got to put those sort of things right first, I think. It's all well and good having a nice shiny city skyline, which I totally love and adore and appreciate and respect. But it's the other. We've got to get the other bits right as well. And again, LoveBrum has helped massively in that, but it's gone nowhere near enough to solving that problem. I don't really know the answer to it, if I'm honest with you, and I know the politicians are trying to come up with ideas and ways and means, and I don't think it's as easy as just throwing a load of money at them and giving them all a house, because I think the problem is still.
When I interviewed Ian Ward and Andy Street and Liam Byrne, the government's made a brilliant job of taking everybody off the streets, throwing a lot of money at it. We put them in temporary accommodation, which was fantastic, but actually they didn't feed them. There was no arrangements or provisions for food. So when certain organisations like Cypher and different organisations were made to close, there was a shortage of people being fed. We can't take away the bridge that we put across there, for these people who are homeless. We've got to get in there and we've got to look at each different individual. And we've got to be able to deal with it and stuff like that, haven't we?
Yeah. And it's an answer. It's a question that's got to be answered, not by us two, to be fair. It goes,
agreed,
isn't it? But I know a task force was set up. I don't know how successful that's been.
Yeah.
I don't hear or see anything, to be honest, from it. That doesn't mean that it's not been successful, by the way. I'm not suggesting that. But I do think, we need to see something happening in that degree.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, politics aside, regardless of what party you support, I think we all come together on this issue, is that we shouldn't have homeless people in this day and age begging on our street corners, because it brings the whole city down, I think.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
And I'm just mindful of the time. I mean, you can talk all afternoon, Tim.
Yeah.
But we've got to be mindful of that. So it's just up to me to thank you genuinely from the bottom of my heart for coming on board. You do some fabulous things for the city. Do appreciate your time that you've given all for Downtown in Business today. Wish you all the very best and look forward to raising a glass of wine with you very soon. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.